Hi you guys, happy Monday. I am ready to do our Module 14 review in your math workbooks on page 397. So Module 14 was pretty short. We just had those 3 lessons and it was just all about fractions and how fractions represent an actual area in a given shape or whole group. So let's go ahead and do this review together, and then you guys will take the Module 14 test on your own. So again, I'm on page 397. Our first section is on vocabulary. So in our vocabulary box over on the right, we have area, numerator, unit fraction, and unit square. So number 1 says, each equal part that a whole is divided into is so here out of our options, area, numerator, unit fraction, and unit square, what do you think fits the best? We're talking about each equal part, so one part of a whole group. So that would be called our unit fraction. So I'll write that in. So again, a unit fraction, if our square was divided into fourths, a unit fraction would be 1/4, like that. Okay, number 2, it says the number of unit squares needed to cover a surface is the blank. So remember, we use unit squares to measure area. So the number of unit squares needed to cover the surface is the area. And we know that each part of a whole takes up space. It has area. Number 3 says a square with the side length of 1 unit is called so this is just that tiny building block that we use to measure an entire area. So that is our unit square. Okay. Number 4. It says divide the shape into 2 equal areas. 2 equal areas means that I will have 2 parts. My shape is a triangle. Now I am going to draw a vertical line starting at the point of the triangle and going to the bottom, so that I have 2 equal parts. The left side is equal to the right side. If I folded it in half, and folded it together, the sides would match up. I would not do a horizontal line because the top part, the peak, would have a smaller area than the bottom piece. So that's why I do it like this. The next question says, what unit fraction names each equal part of the shape? Well, for that, I have to know how many total equal parts there are. That's our denominator, and there are 2 equal parts, and each of them names one of those parts. So the unit fraction would be 1/2. Number 5, Martha colored one of 8 parts of the shape. She says she colored 1/8 of the shape. Is Martha correct? Explain. Tell what strategy or tool you will use to solve the problem, explain your choice, and then find the answer. Okay, so I am looking at this shape here, and it is a hexagon. Okay, so she is saying that she colors 1/8 of the shape. So I'm gonna count these pieces. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we do have 8 parts in this hexagon, but are those 8 parts equal to each other? And I'm looking at this, and just by looking at it, I'm thinking, no way. These 2 little triangles down here are smaller than the triangles next to it. We have big, 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 small, 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 small. So it's like they took one of these triangles here and just cut it in half. They did from the center and connected to each point, but that only made 6 parts, and so then they just took 2 of them and cut them in half to make 8. So that is not equal parts. Another tool or strategy I could use just to make sure that I'm right, I could trace this shape, cut out each of the parts and lay them on top of each other, and I would see that those 4 parts are the same, and these 4 small parts are the same, but the 4 and the 4 do not equal each other. The small triangles do not equal the big triangles. So that's what you're going to explain down here. You will say, no, Martha did not color 1/8 of the shape because you cannot use a fraction to describe the parts of this shape because the parts are not equal to each other. So that is that. Next page, 398. Number 6 says, divide the shape into 4 parts that each have an equal area. So 4 parts, since this is a square, I could do vertical lines and create 4 equal spaces. I could do horizontal lines that would create 4 equal spaces. Or what I think is the easiest is to just split it in half and then in half the other direction. And just make a grid. Make 4 boxes this way. You could, just for fun, I'm going to draw an identical square and see that we could do it in half and then split the halves in half, like that. And those would be 4 equal parts. Another fun thing that we could do, we could split this square in half, split this side in half, and split this side in half. Those would be equal parts because it's halves of halves. So those do cover the same area. If this was on a grid paper, we would count the unit squares and see that the long and thin sections are covered the same area as the shorter ones, the shorter and wider ones. Pretty neat. Number 7 says, which unit fraction of the circular shape does each equal part represent? So I've got some options here. Is it 1/3, 1/4, 1/6, or 1/8? In order to answer this, I need to know how many parts there are in the whole circle. The parts are equal, so this is going to have a unit fraction, so I'm just going to count the parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 equal parts in the circle, so that means each of the parts is 1 of the 8. So my answer is D, 1/8. Okay, feeling groovy. Number 8, the last one, says, select all of the shapes that are divided into equal parts. So by looking at these shapes, I need to determine which ones are divided equally. The first one, part A, is divided into 3 rectangles, and those rectangles look very equal to me. So A is awesome. Let's look at part B. Part B is divided into 4 rectangles, but look, this one is super skinny, that one is wide and long, so they do not cover the same area. So not B. Option C is divided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts, but you can see, gosh, this one is so much wider, and these ones are all looks like all of them are different sizes. So this is not divided into equal parts. Option D is divided into 4 parts, and each of those rectangles are equal to each other. They cover the same area. So yes, that will work. And then part E is divided into 6 parts, and each of those rectangles are equal to each other. So this is divided into equal parts as well. So if we're unsure about B and C, one thing that we could do is take some scratch paper, cover it over, trace it, and cut out the pieces, see if they match up to each other. That's kind of a lot of work, but once you start getting the hang of it, you can just look at it and be like, whoa, no, those are definitely not equal. They do not cover the same space, the same area. Okay, that was all for the review, a pretty quick review. This is a really quick module, so I'm sure you're gonna do fabulous on the test today. You're gonna take the test today because we're gonna start module 15 on Tuesday. So, very exciting. Module 15 is all about comparing fractions, so I'm so excited. All right, you guys, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and let me know if you need anything. Love your guts. Bye.